Hello, and we are live with Plus One EXP's Roll for Content channel. I'm Vi Huntsman, they, them. I'm not Plus One EXP, but it is a brand that multi-classes in tabletop game design, beard and skincare, alchemy, and the Bardic College of Content Creation. This is another episode of Prestige Class, where Tony usually talks to awesome game designers from the indie RPG scene. Today, though, we are getting a behind-the-scenes look at Tony. We'll hear a proper introduction to himself and his channel, where he came from, where he's going. He's the man with the beard, alchemist, and bard. Tony, take it away.
That was so good. That was so good. It's one of you say those same things over and over again, and you never know if anyone's ever paying attention. I really appreciate it. My name is Tony Vicinda. I am a tabletop game designer. I am a content creator. I also make beard balms, lip balms, and lotion bars, inspired by a whole lot of different things, but the one that you might be most interested in, anyone out there who's watching right now, is the ones we make that are inspired by tabletop RPG culture. Right now, only our beard line is up, but coming soon we'll have our lip balm and lotion bar line up also too. So if you don't have a beard but you do have lips or skin, keep an eye out for that. And so studies show most people have lips and skin, and if you want to know about people who don't have lips and skin, come back tonight when we're playing Aether Operations with World Champ Game Co's Autumn Voss, because I'm pretty sure people on that stream will not have lips or skin potentially. The people will, the characters might not.
Right. Well, Tony, I know what we're here to talk about. We are here to talk about your upcoming Kickstarter that you are helping with. You're doing all the game design bits, is that right?
That is correct. It's actually live right now. So we went live yesterday on the 15th and funded in about 90 minutes. But yeah, it's up right now. And the link is down below us also too. Our links are down below us. That link is down and to the left of us.
Which will be
that. There you go. No, yeah.
Right. That one?
Yep, that's the one. And so, but yeah, we partnered with John DeCampos for that from Terrible Games, who is an absolutely phenomenal collaborator. He did a lot of the brand work for the Plus One for our new logo and other stuff like that. So we've worked with John a few times, but just a good friend down in Baltimore. Just loving the games that he's made, but also he'd never done an RPG and liked Beards and Beyond and what I had done there, and knew I was plugged in on the zine scene, and so said, hey, will you co-design this game? I'll do all the art. And as somebody who's always like, how do I get the art for this game done? It was like, absolutely. And so
beautiful. I want to talk about that. You said the earliest thing that I know about you from was you said Beards and Beyond, right?
Yeah.
What was that the first thing that you did for the tabletop design realm?
In RPGs, yes. I have a failed Kickstarter that we're going to bring back later on this year for a game called Brand Standing. It most easily fits into being a party game. However, it is way more of an improv storytelling game, and so my design approach, even when doing board gaming stuff, tends to be pretty sandboxy and pretty open world. And so. It was a hard thing to figure out how to market, and we probably rushed it to Kickstarter. We learned a lot of lessons first time we did it, and that's that. Oh, you can't see it. You can see it. Everybody else can. That red box behind me over here is a copy of Brand Standing. But it's an improv brand building game where you get a couple of prompts that give you a demographic and a couple of prompts that give you a type of business, and then you basically over the course of a couple of rounds have to ideate and pitch a dumb fake brand for like one combination of those options.
So it's randomly generated Shark Tank.
It is randomly generated Shark Tank, and you're pitching every single round the same business, but you've got a different focus every single round. So you got about 2 minutes to ideate and make notes, draw things down, make sketches, and you do like your elevator pitch, and then your minimum viable project, and then your like services, and your you end up doing like your customer feedback and like what people are saying, your endorsements, other stuff like that, your marketing plans. But every single round has a different focus, and every round you invest in secret in the other players, and you reveal who had the most money, and the person with the most money and their primary investor both win the game. And so
Nice.
we also made a fake podcast out of it that's absolutely phenomenal. If you go to BS the Show, it may still be up, but if you search Brand Standing on a podcast catcher of your choice, it's the one with the big BS logo on it. And so
Very nice.
yeah, we're gonna bring
I'll
that
have to
back
give that a
later
look.
this year. But that's Beards and Beyond is the first thing in the RPG scene that people would have known me for 100%.
Gotcha. Yeah, and that's tied into your, your intro, of course, talking about the beard products and the skincare products. You went from that kind of the brand standing into Beards and Beyond, and then you started up this YouTube channel, which ever since it's come to my focus, I've just seen over and over again you talking to the coolest people about the new indie RPG products. When you first started this, what were you expecting it to be?
Pretty much what it is. I wasn't expecting to do any interviews. That's actually a part. I love doing interviews. I did an interview podcast for about 2.5 years with one of my best friends. Had phenomenal conversations just looking about like goodness, truth, and beauty in other people's lives, and then how that resonates with our experience.
Nice.
And it's a format that I love, but I just was like, I'm going to focus on actual play, and then really short polished reviews, because I feel like not enough, especially indie RPGs, like they'll put up an actual play that they do and it's good proof of concept on a Kickstarter page or on an itch page, but it doesn't necessarily teach people the game. And a lot of people are either already bought in and they're going to buy your game either way, and so they're going to listen to it to learn how to play, but there was nothing that really helped people say like, here's a 5-minute-ish video that lets people know if they want to get this game or not, which is very common for board games, very abnormal for RPGs. And like you and very few other people were doing some kind of short form content. Most of it's just really big, like long things, or D&D listicles, or there's stuff like that exists out there. And so the concept was, what if we just made really well polished short RPG review videos that just kind of helped piqued interest? And so we've added the interviews, but really what we're doing right now with the actual plays and everything else is 100% what we set out to do on the channel, just because we saw it as a need in the community and wanted to champion small indie creators and give them something awesome to showcase their game.
That is super cool. That is a great way to use a platform. It is a fledgling community. The I mean, like tabletop RPGs have been around for a while, of course, but there's always there's new corners of it that, like you said, like board games has their trends and their usual things you see, but yeah, tabletop RPGs, there's definitely some niches that can be filled, and it's super cool to have you joining the short form tabletop content family.
Yeah. It's been a really good family to join, and it was fun discovering your channel. It was fun. Ben, I've been a fan of for a long time, and so like there's just a few other people out there who I really love the content that they were doing. And then, the question is like, hey, I think always this, like, what is the unique thing that my voice can add to this? And I think that's the question we should always be looking for. And most of my background work was helping other people promote the work that they were doing, not necessarily in a marketing way, but in saying like, how do I come in alongside this and just like amplify the great things that are already happening here, and just give that over to that person in the community completely to kind of take ownership of. And Zine Quest has actually been really good for that. The daily live streams that we've been doing, where we'll end up with like 23 people on in the middle of the afternoon a lot of the time, just chatting about games. They originally intended to be like 20 minutes, then they got to 45 minutes. Now they're typically between 45 and 55 minutes. And I'll talk about 10 games, but we'll ask questions, we'll talk about things. Sometimes like I'll have a creator who I'm like, I don't understand this part of their page, or I would love to see more of this. And like I'm very much a positivity person. Like I'm never there to dunk on a creator, but if there's a real challenge on a page, I'll name it and say like, how do we talk about this? And lots of times somebody in the head will be like, oh, I know that person, and so they'll go ask them. That person will reach out to me the next day and say, hey, we went and made some changes based on the stuff that you were asking and talking about. So
Yes.
it's just a great way to show love to all those creators, and then but ask them real questions and push people into a little bit more, while giving exposure over to really great small projects in a way that I can't do a million polished reviews for. But the chat there has been phenomenal.
Awesome. As the the time has now rolled around, you are putting something of yours, and I'm glad that I get to step in your shoes and fill your job of hyping it up. So this Kickstarter is Repugnant, right?
Mm-hmm.
But before we talk about that, I want to ask, how did you meet the artist, because I looked at uh, his art,
Mm-hmm.
and it's colorful. It's just so striking. It looks like a super cool guy. How'd you get in contact with him?
Yeah, so John came to me with the game process. Like John DeCampos, my co-creator, is the artist also too. So John and I first met. We were both getting into the board game scene around the same time. I was getting close to pitching brand standing at that point in time on Kickstarter. He was just starting the process of working on a miniature skirmish game that he has since built and successfully launched very well, called Token Terrors. That is like a mini skirmish game with a bunch of different fantasy races. You kind of do like a draft for each one of them. There's these awesome little sculpted miniatures that he did all the basic art for, that had a friend 3D model out.
Nice.
And I did some play testing with him. We finally got to actually hang out in person at PAX U after we had hung out online 3 or 4 times, play the game, hang out a little bit, just kept things up, would give a lot of input and feedback into his Kickstarter campaign that was coming up, the lessons we learned from ours, talk through ideas, and then he successfully funded. I'd done Beards and Beyond, and as he was looking to come up, he said, like, yeah, I'd love to do it. I'll do all the art. You do this. We'll just do a 50-50 split on anything. If there's any money left, because, it's a Kickstarter project. And, for Zine Quest, we like to maximize everything we're doing just back into the project. And so, just started working on stuff, and he had like a rough thumbnail sketch of an idea. He's on our actual play team also. We had played Neon Lords of the Toxic Wasteland, and he just loved that. Like at one point, his character snorted something called rainbow dust that we had just pulled out of a cadaver, and that was okay in the world, and we're just kind of picking our way through the rubble of a fallen apart civilization. And he was like, what if you just played in a setting where everybody was kind of gross and things were just kind of like the moral complicity or alignment or other things weren't a major conversation. You just kind of did gross things and weird things, and we kind of just kept on talking about stuff and what that might look like, and came up with the concept of this like trash can, or this kingdom of trash that is just filled with all kinds of weird mutated things. And it's not post-apocalyptic. It's just kind of what's happened to the world, and everything's kind of trashy and gross and weird, and the characters are too, and that's the norm for their world. And what is it like to create a game in that space, just evolved out of that place. And John's art is just so perfect for that. I mean, it's a lot of the grotesque like beauty that he puts into his art is just absolutely phenomenal for that style. So yeah, he came to me with it.
So it's pustules and boils and zits and discarded banana peels. What's the elevator pitch for that? How do you pitch that to someone?
Yeah. It's really funny because it's a pretty polarizing game. I just was posting out earlier today in a couple groups, like, my mom has never not backed one of my projects until now. She was pretty clear on a text yesterday that she is not backing this one, and that she wants me to go back to making pretty games that she likes. The elevator pitch is this. It is a game where the goal is gross. We've got 5 original races, 5 original mutations, which are kind of like classes, and then a completely original D2 system that I cannot actually wait to just get out into the world and see how people hack it, because I am super excited about it. And then we have just all this amazing eye-popping art by John that have all come together to take this little gross gem of a game and turn it into a messy masterpiece that I think is going to be a phenomenal addition to the TTRPG like scene.
Awesome. I know that with the coin flipping mechanic, D2, you say, that's going to be kind of, success and failure are, statistically, as a consequence of that, going to happen in equal measure. How does that play into the world and the gameplay style you're going for? Yeah,
we've got a couple videos that we just popped up yesterday late in the game, but I'm going to move onto this on the screen. I'm going to scroll down on our Kickstarter page so people can see this one sheet that's really important. So it's not a single D2, it is a set of D2s. So we're actually using chits. So we're getting custom made chit. We've actually unlocked a stretch goal where every physical copy of the game will come with some chit. Some copies will come with more chit. But the system itself is called Covered in Chit. And so you will take the number of the number of the number of see, it's great. The number
Yep.
depending on what your stat, which we call scuzz in the game, are, you will take a certain number of chits in your hand. So you end up with a number of D2, and it's a flexible number. And that, so if you are like, if it's a physical action, you're going to make what we call a revolting flop. So there's 3 different ways you throw things, these chits out on the board. But you'll take, then you take whatever your revolting scuzz is, right? So if you have a 5 in revolting, you'd grab 5 chits, and then you would describe the action you want to take. If you describe it in an especially gross manner, or if you describe it in a gross manner, you get an extra chit. If you're using certain items or certain abilities, you may get more chits that'll also impact the narrative also too. And then if it's especially gross when you describe it, you may get an extra bonus chit. So you might end up with 2 extra chits. But you end up with this handful of chits. And then since it's a physical action, you'll take them and you'll put them above this hit sheet, which is what I pulled up on the thing that we call the heap, right? Which has this kind of auricular capacity to it. And you'll hold them up about 18 to 24 inches above it, and you'll just drop them. And that's a flop. But if it was a ranged attack or an intellectual or kind of cunning action, instead of flopping them, you would fling them, which is about standing 18 to 24 inches away. You would take them and you would get your handful of chit and you would fling them onto the board. Or if it's a complex or skilled or long-term, like over time action, you might do a flick, which is putting some of them on your thumb and slowly flicking them onto the sheet. And they either give you 1 hit or 2 hits, right? So they either 1 success or 2 successes. You need to hit certain target numbers, challenge numbers. So it's almost a dice pool feel, but it's a build up of the entire number. And then where they land on the heap can also tell you narratively about things. We have the 4 humors, which we've remapped to some of the more disgusting modern ways that we're using them in it. You also have that kind of these 3 spheres of an individual. So if you're attacking somebody and you're using a certain stat, they might get bonuses depending on where they land on there. So it moves it out of that yes/no binary into, hey, do I want to use an ability on this because abilities cause I can only use this a certain number of times because they take scuzz points away from me, or do I want to go all in on something? And when I'm dropping, do I think hitting over here is actually going to be better over here? And I can kind of finesse some of that in the way that I'm doing. So there's a little bit of a dex mechanic, but nothing too strong that would make it, that would make accessibility too challenging. We also wanted to be really intentional about having some alternative methods of doing resolution that could embrace, like, hey, what if somebody can't throw dice? And we actually encourage, like, pick a thrower for the table, like pick somebody who's good at it and have that person. The GM should never need to throw. If they want to, they can, but also if it's not a role to succeed something, but if somebody asks a question, the collector, that what we call the GM, can like throw some chits out onto the heap, see where they land, and there's some rules that they have for how things are subdivided to do like different probabilities, other things like that. And where most of the chits land, it would give them an option for how they might move forward. So there's a lot of cool ways to do it. It's that combination of like, I had this idea for, let's do D2s because it's kind of annoying and gross and and people don't do it, which fits the system feel thematically. But let's not just do something that's success, fail, win, lose, or some combination of like how the chits land. Let's create something we throw them on, and make that an important part. And John said, what does that look like? And I was like, I don't know, here are 6 ideas, pick the ones you like and draw it, and then you give it back to me and I'll finalize all the mechanics based on the art that you do. And so all the major pieces were done, like all the major like how this will work pieces were done. But now that I have the final sheet that he got me last week, I'm going through and refining like what are the narrative components you can pull out based on all these different zones that we've created on the hit sheet. And so yeah, that's our major. That's kind of our major thing. But I would love to see somebody do a 1-page or 2-page RPG where like one side is just the hit sheet, the other side is the rules, and you've got some stuff that you're just going to throw on it. Like I can't wait to just like give it out to the world and say, like, here's what we made with it. Like here's Repugnant, but also like go nuts on this tool, right? So.
Yeah. It is funded. You said funded in 90 minutes, which is super cool. Yeah, I like to flaunt that number. You've got the system. It's coming with the chits. I assume like maybe like a folded playmat where you can like unfold it and then.
Yeah, it's the inside cover. And so,
awesome.
yeah, so the outside cover is full wrap. So it's just one big image that John did that is absolutely gorgeous. And then the inside will be that. We're actually going back and forth. If we end up well funded, we may just make it a wrap and not an actual stapled on, so people don't have to worry about about unstapling and not
Yeah.
carrying the sheet and all that kind of stuff. So
I mean, but if you tore the sheet a little bit on Repugnant,
it's
where's
not
the
a big
loss?
deal. Yeah, it's 100%. It's 100% the feel. And so, but yeah, it was just I always like to make use of the inside covers, and which is like that's the cool OSR thing to do, right? Like, you gotta make use of the inside covers, and so we were gonna do it no matter what. It would have either been a center piece, like centerfold piece, which then you've got slide issues with, or it was going to be the outside cover, and so we ended up going inside. And the inside cover was where we ended up doing it. But it'll also everything will be digital online, and you just print it out also too.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, get yourself like a big one. Is it going to be I wish I knew my print size is better, but is it like an 8.5 by 11, like a letter sized? So
yeah, so cool. Normal we followed the Zine Quest rules because whatever we did, and so
you chose to, yeah,
because we chose to, and that's fine. And whether people did or didn't isn't a big deal one way or the other.
That's right. And if I wasn't, since I'm hosting the stream, if you didn't say it, I would.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I'm 100% on board of like, if these are the rules of the system, like, yeah, people should try to follow them. But also, if you didn't, we don't need to have an extended discussion about whether or not it's okay or not. You didn't. It's fine. Whatever. Yeah. Like, let's move forward. But yeah, it's so 8.5 by 11 is what it'll fold out to. The book itself is a A5.
8.5, 5.5, that sort of.
Yeah. And so, so yeah, it'll be normal zine size, and then everything is in tones of green or black. Like those are the two colors that we chose, or theoretically the color of the paper and then the color of the print, right? And so
yeah. There's all that, and then coming with it, I know there's a couple stretch goals planned, but are you planning is it coming with a disgusting gross adventure or anything else to help people get started?
So one of our stretch goals that we are closing in on unlocking right now, we're about not halfway to, we're halfway between the last one and the next one. So we're at about $2,500 right now. And at $3,000, we'll release Down the Yucky's Hole, which is kind of like a Yeti-like creature. It's one of the bigger big bads of the crust, and we'll do an adventure where you've got to kind of delve down into the hole, the cavern of this giant creature, and retrieve some items and have some adventures, and hopefully survive, but also maybe die, and who knows? That's fine. And so that'll come with it, and then we have for our super premium version, and we'll release this just later. Also, too, we have a item that I'm creating called Pizza Face Problems, which is more of like an urban adventure. And you will play, one of the classes is a pizza face, so they love pizza, and they are zit covered also, too. And they will, it'll be basically that you've got at least one character in the party who's a delivery person for a pizza face pizza company, and you will have to do numerous urban kind of adventures and questing to get those pizzas to people who need them on time. But that'll come out no matter what at some point. But it is also available. We're doing an add-on where you get your entire zine delivered in a Pizza Face pizza box that it will be properly scuzzed up by us. And so that'll be an add-on afterwards, or if people get the our limited edition ultra premium, which no one has done yet because it's ridiculous. It'll come in that at default because you get everything we're making. But otherwise, people can just add it to the end, and we'll put all the rest of their stuff in there, and it'll get shipped to them in that pizza box.
Amazing. I know that it's one sec, let's see. I've seen cassette games. I've seen vinyl games. I've seen a video game case game. I think that you're going to be the first one to broach the pizza box game, the highly coveted. You're the first to the finish line.
First, everybody was trying to crack that pizza box problem, and we got there. So I'm super excited about that. And then once we decided to do that, I was like, I really should add content to this. Like, it seemed the thing to do. I backed the drain at. I guess my wife isn't watching. I backed the drain at $80 so I could get a poster with some extra content on the back.
Yeah.
So this just seemed like, hey, we'll drop it in as a pamphlet adventure that's kind of like the menu also too for the pizza place. And so it'll match and feel like that, and it'll look like a disgusting Italian pizza place menu kind of trifold.
I don't want to think about what kind of pizza the crust has.
The image that of the pizza the guy's eating, I think says a lot. And so let's see I can see what we can see what's on there. It looks like there's an anchovy skeleton, a beetle, a worm, an eyeball, which looks like it may be their eyeball also too, our kind of mascotty creature who we haven't named yet. Like tomorrow, I think we're gonna launch out our first kind of crowdsourced community piece. So I like to crowdsource things in campaigns. So Beards and Beyond people can submit items. We built a character together over the course of the campaign. I love that stuff. So we're gonna do one of those for trash, like we'll have for our like rubbish bin, or for which people can dumpster dive in at the very beginning to get some equipment. We'll let people let people submit items to that also too, and figure out what they do. We've got some on there already, but we'll just take them from the community also too. And then we are, but our first one's going to be naming and telling us the backstory of our mascot, who is a yet undefined, unnamed individual who is already slapped all over everything. But we're just like, just tell us who this is. Like, who is this individual? They're not one of the races. They're not necessarily like male, female, or like, just tell us who they are. Like, it's like anything that you think, and then we'll pick 10 that we like, and we'll pop it back out to the community and let people vote on which one they like, and that'll become the official in canon idea for who that person is that's slapped all over our stuff. And so but yeah, we've got that. So we've got the pizza box. We've got shirts that people will be able to add as add-on items after the fact, because I hate the idea of doing shirts, but John loves them and does them on a regular basis and has people he works with. And as an add-on where you can say, tell me the size that you want, and we will print it for you right now, and you have already paid for it, that's great. I'm fine with that. I just don't want to put them in as a campaign level. And then we're working right now with a company called Black Rainbow that I love, who makes these killer like dice bags. We've got a bunch of them right here because they are now the official dice of Plus One EXP, so we sponsor them. This is my personal one that's not getting given away. But nice. Like all these cool dice. So we're gonna do a set with them, and that'll come with a set of, even though you don't use them in our system, green and black dice, and then the chits will come in there also, and then there'll be a print of the cover, or maybe different art, because I don't know what John and Gravy ended up deciding to do. That'll come as an add-on kit that people can buy, or again, if people get the ultra premium level, it'll come with that also too.
Then you get the dice bag, the dice, the chits, the the brand,
all the chit comes in comes in one big thing, and so it'll all get shoved in that pizza box and then delivered to you. And so what do Aaron wants to know? We got a couple questions from people. Aaron wants to know, what level do I back at to get a meal delivery service with a full frozen pizza and plastic sealed zine delivered to my door? Whatever level you want, Aaron. Just tell me send me your address. We'll make it happen. If you live in Philadelphia and you back at the $300 level, I will deliver it to your door. With a pizza, and if I'm in your town, I'll do the same thing. But if I'm not, then I can't. And then Rusty wants to know, what's the one thing that grosses me out the most? I don't know. I have a pretty high threshold. Mostly, I don't like metal getting dragged along porcelain. Is very painful noise for me. But that's it. I don't get grossed out very easily. Like I'm not drawn towards gross things, but I don't get grossed out super easily. And Rusty says there was an RPG game that came in a pizza box that doubled as a GM screen. Well, Rusty, thanks for ruining my day. I'm just kidding.
We hate to see it, but drop us the link so we can see it.
Yeah, we want to see it because we'll just do better. Like we'll just do a better job, and so we'll nobody will remember that pizza game. Ever. And so
did it have eyeballs and anchovy skeletons? I don't think so.
That's right. And so anyways, that's been the but yeah, it's been a blast. It's also just way easier working on a project with a collaborator. Also, we both did it for fun. Like, this is something Phil Reed told me in my interview with him. Like, Phil does 12-ish Kickstarters a year. Did 12 last year. And just does them for fun. That's in addition to being the CEO at Steve Jackson Games, right? Like, that just does Kickstarters for fun.
Yeah. He did the he does Morkborg products, is that right? And the Troika Bestiary?
Yeah, and they're all great, and they're all wonderful.
Yeah.
And just did Tower of Scoundrels, Morkborg, Record, and Adventure, right? But Phil just was like, I just do them for fun. Like, why would I stress myself out? Like, if these are stressful for me, why would I do them? And when it's your baby, and it's your first time, when when you're doing it to make money, like, I totally get that. But like, I think a lot of people in the community, especially if it's their first time, they forget like a couple of things. There's a 90% fund rate for Zine Quest historically. I think it may drop a little bit this year, but I think it'll still be high 80s. You've got, a small budget, small project. As long as you put things together well, plan things out properly, like the likelihood that you've built a little bit of community, it's not hard to fund, and you can just have fun with it. Like, you don't have to do a whole lot. Zine culture grew out of like, it cost me $3. You've got a $3 zine. Let's just swap. Like, or, like, I just need to cover costs and be able to print more maybe. And so
Right.
I think Zine Quest is a good place for us to like kind of recover some of just the fun of what we're doing. We unfortunately did fall in love with our $10,000 stretch goal, and we can't move it lower because it is absolutely, we will give away 20% of our money if we make that stretch goal to making that stretch goal happen. And so it had to be at that height of a level.
Tell me what that is. What is going on there?
So we want to make an original. So all of our stretch goals, like I said, we've got a couple we've unlocked so far. One of them was just basically there'll still be a blank character sheet in the game, but it's a lot of writing to create a character sheet. We're like, can we make that easier on people? And so we've unlocked that. Johnny, who does all of our layout, he's a graphic designer who is on my staff. He lives in the Philippines. Phenomenal guy. Did all the layout and work for Beards and Beyond. He's going to go through and pre-combine like all 25 combinations of the game. So whatever race you want to play, to print it out, and then you assign your stats and like go. Like you're good to go. You don't have to do a lot of writing. All the abilities are set on there for you. Kind of more like a playbook feel from a PBTA system. And then the next one was making sure that there were chits with every physical copy instead of just having to print them out and slap them on cardboard and then cut that cardboard out, which is also fun because it's good use of home trash. But we wanted to be able to upgrade that. And then the people who already were getting chits are getting more chits. And then we've got the Through the Yetchi's Hole, which is the next one. And then we've got a world map that Ryan Latino, who did the Old Roads Kickstarter project, or is finishing up the Old Roads Kickstarter project right now. Go back it if you have not yet. Is going to do our world map for us because John kept on trying to, and world maps are a very different reality than other types of art. And so I was like, what if we just made a pledge level that let somebody else do that? That's fine. And that'll be. We're kind of going back and forth right now. Phil actually posted this cool thing the other day that is a bunch of different types of folded paper stuff that you can get printed on, and one of them looks like a wadded up, like almost like flower look, and then when you unfold it, it's an 18 by 18 sheet. So we're thinking about switching over to doing our map on this thing that'll look like a wadded up piece of paper, and then when you unfold it, it'll be our map. And so we're thinking about that. And then we are so that's the at like 5,000, and then at $10,000, the one that we fell in love with and can't get out of our heads is the Sounds from the Crust original soundtrack. It'll be about 40 minutes. It'll be a digital download for sure. We may make a cassette tape because everybody needs more junk in their life, and but it'll be an original soundtrack that's what we're calling atmospheric crust punk, which is a genre of music that doesn't exist yet. And so in order to create a genre of music, it cost about $2,000. And the guy that John's a musician also too. And so the guy who he knows who is just this phenomenal sound musician. He's plugged into the punk scene, the rock opera scene, and a couple other things in Baltimore. Does a ton of amazing work for people. Is a good friend of John. Said he could make it all come in for $2,000, and so that's our if we hit that level, which is our goal, we will be able to produce it, but it'll be like, hey, yeah, like we're giving away the biggest chunk of money, as much as it costs to print zines, we will be spending on this music soundtrack also too. But I just love the idea of it. Like, I love what Death Robot Jungle, these kind of like, let's make something atmospheric, but in a style that is totally different than what we would normally do with atmospheric music. And so trying to bend punk into that mindset and then mix in a bunch of probably weird body noises, squelchy sounds, and other stuff along the way.
I can't imagine.
It just seems like hopefully you won't have to for long. Hopefully we'll be able to make it a reality.
I hope you get it. You fell in love with it. So
that's right.
You're crossing your fingers.
Yeah, I mean, like we just like it's one of those things that, you know, if you don't fund right away, then your high level stretch goals seem less attainable, and you don't worry about them as much. And then as soon as if you fund quickly, you're like, ooh, how high can we go? What can we do with this? Like, can we make the cool thing happen? And now we're in love with the idea of making the cool thing happen.
Right. You were talking. We went down this side road because you were talking about other people doing their Kickstarters. Would you recommend having an enormous stretch goal that is expensive for most people?
I always tell people to keep things simple and within your means. And so if your first Kickstarter, like do a stretch goal or two, right? Go ahead and pre-write a couple ideas of content on a piece of paper and sketch some ideas out below them and add 4 pages, you know, to your zine if you want to. Or put out a PDF or a pamphlet adventure, right? Like do something simple that doesn't add a lot of weight or dimensions or other things to your game. Once you've done it a couple times, if you've got the experience and the skill set to do it, adding things
Which you've got.
Music or art or other pieces are great. Adding adventures are great. Adding maps are great. Those are all super fun things to do if you can manage them. But if you don't, like, this is something I learned from Beards and Beyond. There were a number of things I wanted to do, and I knew where I wanted them all to come from, but wasn't able to confirm all of them before I put up the stretch goals. And they all ended up working out. It was great because I was 80% of the way done with all those conversations when I put them all out there. But I would say it'd be better to have had them 100% done and in my hands so that I didn't have to wait an extra 6 months once the global pandemic hit to get them back from people whose lives have been irrevocably changed through that, which was totally understandable and not a problem for me at all. But sometimes backers, even though there's a global pandemic, will be like, hey, why isn't my game here yet? And so my backers for B&B were actually really phenomenal about understanding. But yeah.
That's good. And it seems like you have the portfolio to show for all of that. And it's cool seeing more art in the world, even if it's disgusting. You know, the soundtrack, that'll be art. The illustrations are art. The writing is art. I love seeing all of that down on the page in the real world. So I'm excited. I think it's going to be awesome.
I am too. Jeremy Childry's in the chat says that he was surprised to hit any stretch goals, and I'm not. Jeremy, your project is so awesome. If you haven't backed Gordnak yet, go out and
back Gordnak.
And so, I mean, I think people have to really consider what is achievable. Can they do this? There's a guy I really like who is doing. He roasts coffee, and he was really trying to encourage people to maybe partner with him to add coffee. And I was just like, man, that's adding a solid pound to my shipping and everything else. And it's a great service. I actually want to do it with some stuff later on this year, but I'd rather do it as a standalone project where this is part of the concept and not as a stretch goal or add-on or other things like that, just because all of a sudden your scale of cost just balloons with any of that kind of stuff.
You got to plan that from step one.
Yeah. Morgan is very, very cool, and I really want to work with Morgan, who does the coffee stuff. But I'd rather just like, can we make a coffee bag that is an adventure? Like, let's do that. Like, I hope so. Yeah. I want to do a series. Like, I want to partner with 10 people, and let's do a coffee subscription for the year. But it's every month you're getting a coffee that is an adventure, and then that's part of it. There's a guy I'm working with whose first name is Eric, who we're going to be doing a I don't know how long it'll be, we'll see, an RPG that's going to be your all positions in some sort of fantasy world, Michelin star restaurant. None of you are the head chef. The head chef is lazy. They just come out and bark orders for you, but the refrigerator itself is a portal to another dimension, and you have to go in and harvest and retrieve and slay the creatures that your restaurant cooks up every evening, and every different position will give you a different thing. And the stats will absolutely be palate related and based. And so what does salty do? What does sweet do? I don't know. We're going to find out together. It's going to be great. But that's one of our future things. Yeah, but the idea of taking coffee and then making that an ongoing adventure. World Champ Game Co. wants in on it. World Champ Game Co. I will find the weird paper folds and I will send them to you. And so is just super exciting. But yeah, I love doing stuff like that. I love being able to play around with different forms and format. I love the idea, and I actually may have heard it on Brain Trust, so World Champ Game Code, this may have been one of your ideas that I'm just taking. I love the idea of doing a game that's entirely like backstage passes to cons and conferences, and you each of the characters plays it, but like the lanyard is like a base set of rules, and then your badge is like basically like a playbook, and then like a setting would be like a very little like, you know, field note style book that you basically say this is the scenario or the setting you're going to play in. It's an idea I've been obsessed with for like 8 months now, and it feels like something I would have heard there.
That sounds familiar from Brain Trust.
Yeah. And so, yeah, I mean, just I've worked the back end of professional development cons, of game cons. I've gone to music fests, like, so there are things, and there are all these weird things that happen in the middle of those, and being able to drop that down as an RPG is a phenomenal thing. Everybody is excited about Coffee Game right now. But anyways,
As they should be.
Yeah, just figuring out what does it do, and even like having it where the act of drinking the coffee some way, shape, or form interacts with the game, I think is a blast, right? So. Like just taking blank white mugs and making that your character sheet, right? Like where you're writing on the, like that type of stuff just to me is just being able to take some of those materials and do different things with them. And I think that's why the heap was really exciting to me as a mechanic. It was like, I don't want to just throw dice. I want another physical thing that I interact with in the middle of all this that does something else also too. And so, anyways.
Cool. Is there anything else you want to say about Repugnant before we go away? I think we covered stretch goals, people behind it. Go back it.
No, but tell everybody, just in case people out there are watching are familiar with me, but not with you for some reason, tell us a little bit about your YouTube channel, Collabs Without Permission. Let everybody know what that is and what it's all about.
Yeah, I am Vi Huntsman. I use they, them pronouns. I am at Collabs Without Permission. I make goofy videos where I talk about tabletop games. I try to lean into that, the more analysis and critique side of it rather than product descriptions. I think that's a little more valuable. I saw when I first started, I was like, there's a niche here for like video essay style videos, and I want to go head toward that. So if you want to see some weird stuff where I go outside and into the snowy mountains or into the sand dunes, there's a lot of, or dunk myself in a river, which was a great choice on my part. I get outside, do some cool stuff, talk about some cool tabletop things. Go check it out. Collabs Without Permission on YouTube.
Yeah, some of my favorite are the conversations around magic systems. I actually deeply want to play White Hack, which I have not yet, and I know you're a big fan of the spell system for that. So I really want to get in touch with the creator, whose name is escaping me at this moment, for White Hack.
Christian M.
Thank you. And see if they will come run it. But they also seem like a recluse. If you have contact information, let me know.
I'll talk to you. Yeah.
But I'd love to get you on if we play White Hack either way. To come play it, especially with the 3rd edition coming out, because that is what we're planning on building it, some of that around. So, but I love those conversations. I love the way you approach information, and then you also do editing work, correct? Too, right?
Yes, that's right. I edit tabletop RPGs. I'm doing the new upcoming edition of Best Left Buried. I did Morkborg, or Mörkborg, if you want to pronounce it correctly, which I don't know. Don't bother. Morkborg. It sounds great. I also, this is cool. Okay, it's Zine Quest time, so I shouldn't be talking about this, but there is an album by the, crap. What country are they from? I'm not going to say it. From over in Europe, they do ambient metal, and it's awesome. Their name's Kauan, Kauan. They made a album called Ice Fleet, and I edited the adventure for it that's coming with it. So it's a concept album about a ship that was discovered inside of an iceberg, or inside the snowy wastes, and you're going in there trying to figure out what's up with it, and there's an adventure about the concept of the album that's based on a real event, and it's just crazy. It's so cool. Pre-orders until April, so that's super cool. Yeah, I edit stuff, so it's one of my passions. It's awesome to be able to do that and get my name in books.
And if people want to find you online, there is information right below you, but go ahead and say it out loud also too.
Yeah, I'm a Waffle Bunny on Twitter. Add me there, tag me about stuff. It's a bunch of fun. And Collabs Without Permission on YouTube, and that's mostly where I am these days, except on Discord. Join the Exalta Funeral Discord. That's I'm there a lot. I'm a mod there. If you want to say hi, I'm super friendly. Tony just reached out and was like, "Hey, do you want to be on my live stream?" And I was like, "Yeah, let's talk about garbage."
Yeah, I love it.
Yeah.
In the also, Dave Mills wants everyone to know that Random Tables video is better.
The Random Tables video is a good one. God, that took like a year. Oh, that took so freaking long. Anyway, yeah. But
that's awesome. I love it. I don't have a good way that I sign off all my videos. Do you have a good way you sign off all your videos? Do you have like a catchphrase? Like, we just wave at the camera typically, and I make an awkward comment about that. But if you have a good sign off, you can say it, and then we can be done. And we can free everybody from this. Oh, but also everybody, I'll be back to Zine Quest in like 35 minutes. I'm gonna go spend a little bit of time with my wife, but I'll be back in a little bit. And then tonight, Aether Operatives with World Champ Gameco, who came in, hung out with us in the chat. Do the fingers thing is what everybody's saying.
Yeah. I will do that at the very last second. So Tony, I'm gonna do the sign off. Then after you do a little click in the side of your mouth, like a little.
Okay.
And then you do a little like this. You do a little peace sign thing. And you do it next to your eye. Yeah.
Okay. Are we gonna do it together?
Okay. Yes, we are. But after the sign off. So.
Okay.
Thank you for coming to Prestige class. Class is over. And then ready, 3, 2, 1.
Did I do it? Did I do it good?
You did good. Good job, Tony.